Thank you very much. Okay, we are live. And it is always a wonderful treat to welcome in Shabbat with you. Tonight, Cantor Davidson is on vacation, so I have the pleasure of leading you in music as well as words of Torah and prayers. Let's actually just begin with a wordless song with a nagun, and I invite you to sing along with me if you know it. Or even if you don't. No one can hear you but you, so go for it. Shabbat candles around, I invite you to take them out now as you join me in lighting them this evening, welcoming in this much needed day of rest. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Shabbat. You might not be able to see the candles over here, but I assure you they are, and hopefully they're bringing radiance into your homes as well. And we continue with our blessing over our grape juice or our wine, bringing some joy and celebration into our Sabbath day along with us. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho me'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol hamim. V'shabbat kodshecha b'yahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim. And now that we have welcomed in both light and joy with our candles and our wine, we move forward in our service to some psalms of just welcoming in this beautiful Sabbath day. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu Naria Letzor Yishenu Kanapana Betoda Naria Letzor Yishenu Lismeo Nariano Lechoneranena 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 Ladonai. We sing a new song this evening, welcoming in this day. So excited for Shabbat to begin that I'm accidentally skipping ahead in our service. There we go, with Shiru Ladonai. And we welcome in this much needed Shabbat day. After a week of just so much turmoil, so much challenge going on in our world, in our state, in our lives, it is so needed to have this day of rest, this day of reflection, and this day of joy. We welcome in the Sabbath bride with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yaradai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yaradai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad hishmihanu el hamichad Adonai echad u'shmo echad v'shemo tiferet v'li tihila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yaradai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yaradai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Boi kashalom ateret bala gam besimcha ub'sola tochem unei ham segula. Boi kala Lecha Dodi likrat kala yaradai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yaradai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Those first prayers that we always have at the beginning of our Shabbat service are prayers of preparation, prayers to get us in the mood, prayers to get us excited that finally this holy day, this day of rest, this day of sanctity has arrived. And now I hope we are ready to jump in with the words of the Baruch Hu, which is a call of give and response, of saying, hey everyone, are you ready to pray? And everyone being able to respond, yes, I am ready to pray. And although I can't hear your voices as I sing, let us imagine all of our voices coming together in joyous song as they do somewhere up in the universe. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chochma poteach sha'arim u'vitzvuna mishanei itim, u'machalith et hazmanim u'mesader et hakochavim, v'mishmerotehem v'rakia kirtzono. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your great name fills the universe with majestic light. Your word creates twilight and dusk. As your wisdom opens the gates of night, your discernment separates the changing seasons and causes the passage of time. The stars arrayed across the sky reveal your design. You roll out the cycle of darkness and light, shaping day and night. You sweep away the day and carry the world into nightfall, setting day apart from night. You are God of all we can perceive and all that is beyond our perception. Living eternal God, be our sovereign to the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Amen.
We turn to the words of Ahavat Olam, eternal love, as we look at the image of our beautiful open ark. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Amen.
Very often we sing an upbeat version of the Shema, and I love the upbeat versions that we do. But now that we've entered this month of Elul, this month of just going over, reflecting, and taking time to really think about how we want this next year ahead of us to go, it seems like this is an opportunity to offer the Shema in a different way, a way in which we focus on each word with contemplation. And so what I invite you to do is to allow each word to be as long as your breath, holding it as long as you wish as we go through the entire prayer. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לתותפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, amen. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai. That wherever we are, it is eternally Egypt. That there is a better place, a promised land, and that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. That there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. We turn to our Hashkivenu prayer. And as we say this Hashkivenu prayer this evening, we are holding in our hearts, especially all those who are affected by the fires throughout California, those affected by the hurricanes, everyone who is in need of protection, everyone who we want to take away some of their anxiety and fears this morning for any number of reasons. As we offer this prayer, we hope that because we say these words, we can bring a little more surety, a little more comfort into this world. I invite you to join with me in singing. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. V'ha'amidenu, Shomrenu lechayim. Ufros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. We raise our voices in delight as we celebrate the Sabbath day with the words of Vishamru. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. בני ובין בני ישראל, בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. Said the Holy One to Israel, I asked you to pray in the synagogue of your city. But if you cannot pray in the synagogue, pray outdoors in an open field. And if you cannot pray in the field, pray in the shelter of your home. And if you cannot pray in your home, pray in the dark of your bed. And if you cannot pray in your bed, meditate in your heart without words. Wherever we are, we join together by offering these most central words of prayer. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avotim Ahot, U'Mevi Geulah Livnei Bneihem, L'man Shemo B'Yava, Melech Ozer Hu Moshiach Magen. Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Morid Hatah, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechaye HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim B'Rofei Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, U'Mido Melach, Melach Meimit U'Mechayeh, U'Matmiach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman Hatah L'Chayot HaKol. Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim b'chol yom Yehallelu Chasela. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי אדוני צורי וגואלי. We continue this evening with a Torah service. And you see what happens when no one volunteers to do the Aliyah is that everyone is volunteered to do the Aliyah. So anyone who would like to join with me in this Aliyah this evening over our Torah portion, Kitz Yitzeh, I invite you to unmute and on the count of 3, join me in saying these words of blessing. 1, 2, 3. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMorach. Baruch Adonai HaMorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim. V'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Lo yeh kli gaver al isha, v'lo yilbash gaver simlat isha. Ki tovat Adonai Elohecha kol oseh ela. Ki yikareh kan sipor lefanecha baderech bechol etz o al haaretz efrochim hobetzim ve'haim rovetzet al efrochim o al habetzim lo tichachaim al habanim. Shaleach tishalach et haim ve'et habanim tikach lach leman yitach lach v'harakta yamim. 1, 2, 3. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Stop our screen share now in order to talk about some words of Torah this evening. So once a month, the Methodist Church in San Pedro offers a shower project in coordination with the county. Last Wednesday, the shower project reopened after a COVID-related hiatus. Guests who are usually either homeless or on the verge of homelessness came for hot showers, warm meals, and clean clothing. They came for information about how to get resources that they so desperately needed. Sometimes, people came because they craved the supportive conversations with volunteers and clergy members who treat them with dignity and respect, sometimes a commodity that is rare. This past Wednesday, I met one such man. I'll call him Robert. Robert was a personable man in his late 30s who was most appreciative for his hot lunch. He introduced himself enthusiastically and asked questions of me and of a reverend nearby, scoping us out. After talking about his upbringing in San Pedro and his San Pedro pride, the conversation took a sudden turn. "I know I'm a sinner," he said. "I am. I'm not like other people. I'm not like my brother and his wife. I'm attracted to men." And he whispered it as if he was truly ashamed. "I know it's wrong," he said. "I know it is. I try to fight it." We sat outdoors, awkwardly abiding by the 6 feet distance rule, as I looked into his eyes, which were welling with tears. Robert said, "I'm like the people in Sodom and Gomorrah. What they did was wrong. It isn't right. It isn't natural. It should not be this way." Now, the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, if we study it, did not pertain to homosexuality at all. The sin was actually the unwillingness to welcome in the stranger, to treat a fellow human being with dignity and respect. But in the name of religion, someone had used this text to teach Robert that he is flawed and that his human desire to find love was flawed as well. My heart broke in two as I heard him say his words. Not only did he hate himself for his sexuality, but he had been taught that God hated him for it as well. "Robert," I told him, "I think that you are beautiful and sacred just the way you are. That God made you as a being created in God's image, that the day you were born, God decided the world needed you. You are sacred as you are." He was obviously thrown back by my words and wasn't sure how to respond, and neither was I. What do we do when our faith and our texts indicate that there is something wrong with the people that we are? How do we make sense of religious teachings that inspire hatred or self-loathing? Why does a life with God, a God who so clearly commands, "Love your neighbor as yourself, I am the eternal your God," so consistently fail to achieve its own stated goals? Asks Rabbi Daniel Hartman in his book, Putting God Second, How to Save Religion from Itself. If the most frequent commandment in our Torah is to love, how do we make sense of any teachings which put down people for their differences? This week's Torah portion teaches, "A woman must not put on man's apparel, nor shall a man wear woman's clothing, for whoever does these things is abhorrent to the Lord your God." As awful as this verse sounds, the truth is that it was never meant to be understood literally. The Talmud teaches that cross-dressing was only a problem if it was used for the purpose of a hoax, such as spying on the opposite sex. According to Rashi, it was only a problem if it led to adultery or to idolatry. Maimonides explains it was about preventing idol worship, since surrounding idolatrous nations did cross-dress. Cross-dressing on Purim is accepted because it is for the purpose of celebration and joy, for example. The problem is not on the clothes we wear, but to what end we wear them. As Rabbi Elliot Kokla and Rabbi Reuben Zellman explain on the Kesher website, the prohibition that we learn from this verse is very specific. We must not represent our true gender in order to cause harm. Otherwise, wearing clothing of another gender is not prohibited. The Talmud puts it most succinctly, Ve'en kan to'ava, there is no abomination here. To the contrary, rabbinic texts indicate that one should dress in a way that speaks to the gender in which they identify, since doing so will enable one to be more fully oneself. It is unfortunate then that many transgender and genderqueer people feel that they need to hide their true identity in order to be accepted. And yet, how often is this text used in order to put down people who are transgender, genderqueer, or gender nonconforming? What moves the individual who in the name of God is so quick to judge others as an abomination? Asks Daniel Hartman. What gives so many people of faith the license to intolerance? We must acknowledge that many religious systems, while commanding their adherents to act morally, also cultivate perspectives and predispositions that undermine this very goal. This inner conflict between faith in God and the moral imperative to become people who are not indifferent is at the core of religion's autoimmune disease. Religion has an autoimmune disease, explains Hartman, because it is too easy for a zealot to become so righteous that he is unable to see anything or anyone other than his own perspective. Ultimately, he says, I believe that religion's record of moral mediocrity will persist as long as communities of faith fail to recognize the ways in which our faith itself is working against us. In other words, only when we are able to discern within ourselves and our traditions the symptoms of religion's autoimmune diseases will we be able to begin developing remedies that enable religion to heal itself and to reclaim its noble aspirations. It is up to us to call out the hypocrisy of zealotry within our own faith and to strive to live up to the core of our faith, one of love and one of acceptance. And so as we strive to do this more and more as a community, I want to let you know of some ways in which our temple is trying to be more embracing, more accepting, more loving to everyone who is made in the image of God, who is within our community of any gender, of any sexuality. For example, instead of having a bar or a bat mitzvah handbook, we now have a bar mitzvah handbook, so that anyone who is gender nonconforming doesn't need to be excluded from the very name of this important milestone in our tradition. In fact, there is Hebrew that has been created so that rather than being the son or the daughter of parents, someone can be from the house of their parents, beit their parents' names. No one has to be excluded from Jewish honors. In our temple, we have a number of children's books which have parents who are gay couples. And we're looking to expand that further and further to include people who are transgender, people of any gender. So this way, any child within our community can see themselves in the beauty of our tradition. And finally, one last thing that I am going to start doing is including our gender where we put our name out there, how we wish to be identified. That putting in our names even, writing Cassi, Kail, she, her, hers, or if you identify as a male, writing he, him, his, can make it a little bit easier for someone who doesn't go by those pronouns to be recognized for the person who they are in the language that feels appropriate to them. We as a community have a long way to go, and we as a larger Jewish community have a long way to go in truly welcoming everyone in. As long as there are people who are teaching hatred through our texts, it is imperative that we go out of our way to teach love, acceptance, and joy. And after all, that is so much of what our congregation, our community is all about. I dream of a world in which Robert, in which all of us, can not only accept but celebrate the complex, multifaceted, and sacred people that we are. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. This evening, We actually are celebrating love of a couple of people in our community. It is my understanding. I'm hoping the Sorkins are here today. Are you here? You can unmute if you are. I'm trying to find. But I understand that today is the Sorkins' 55th anniversary, which is a really phenomenal milestone, and we are so happy for you. So I wanted to offer words of blessing for you at this time. And for anyone else who happens to be celebrating an anniversary. Mishaberach Avotenu v'Yamotenu, may the one who blessed our mothers and fathers under the canopy of life commitment bring blessing to you on your anniversary. As your marriage has brought such blessing, enriching the lives of those you've touched, so may the blessings you've enjoyed continue to overflow with health and goodness, joy and life-affirming spirit, filling your hearts. We all celebrate your sacred partnership for years upon years and generations to come. We wish you a hearty mazel tov in hopes that you have many more healthy, long years together. And as everyone is offering congratulations to the Sorkins on this wonderful occasion, I'm going to share my screen once more as we also offer blessings for people in need of healing. Healing of mind, healing of body, and healing of spirit. I invite you to join with me in saying these words, and as we do, I invite you also to put the name of anyone into the chat who is in need of healing of any kind. And if you're on Facebook, I invite you to write names of anyone as well to be read out loud. Itka Miriam Bat Esther, Riva Skoll, Josie Gianetto, Stephen Gianetto, Sandra Newman, Mary Binstein, Our Country, Tovia Ben Avraham, Yidaruchel Bat Sarah Leah, Tim Palno, Daniel Fisk, Nadine Wilkerson, Elaine Grove, Karen Fowler, Riva Skoll, and Sarah Gill. All the people in our weekly email list: Barbara Burke, Marty Spiegel, Matthew Josephson, Janeth Sarot, Mitch Katzman, Sarah Gill, Steve Skoll, and the Binstein family, Jerry Sorkin, Jessica Scher, Erwin Scher, Judith Summerstein, Elizabeth Benz, Jeff Golden, Joanne Lanson, Paige Montano, Marguerite Mick Mahone, Hannah McCalls, Jacob Blake, Sylvia Davis, the Skoll family, Mark Newman, Barbara Aber, Al Zirkus, Mel Zirkus, and Shelly Zirkus, Marty Spiegel, Matthew Udowitz, Angie Harrison, Dennis Valos, Valerie Ashley, Susan Williams, Josh Montgomery, and Susan Felberg, Ethan Morgan, Jennifer Hamburg-Roski, Jen Phil, Jerry Sorkin, and anyone else who's in our hearts this evening. Let us offer this prayer of healing in hopes that they can hear our prayers and feel our prayers with every note that we offer. Mishaberav avotenu mekor habracha lehimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberav imotenu mekor habracha lehavotenu renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And these prayers, of course, also included Alexandra Levine and Barbara Aber. In addition to those words of blessing for people in need of healing, we also offer blessing of memory with the words of the mourner's Kaddish. This evening, we are mourning the recent death of Alan Binstein, Reba Skoll's brother, of Florence Marshall, our longtime member, John Banks, Susan Brooks' uncle, Dr. Frank Fisher, the Euler's good friend, Edith Newman, Michelle Shahan's grandmother and Mark Newman's mother, Chuck Brahms, Howard Euler's cousin, and Rita Epson, Steve Morris's cousin. We are also observing the art sites of Barbara Amsbury, Rose Batan, William Badavin, Evelyn Beyer, Donald Church, Ann Cohn, Jerome Cohn, Louis Cuppersmith, Albert Davidson, Clara DeLucia, B. Diamond, Melvin Eve, Ida Lewis Frumis, David Gershuni, Irving Gerson, Louis Gordon, Dorothy Green, Boris Grove, Matilda Horn, David Joseph, Carmen Kelly, Estelle Klotz, Arthur Kopsky, Robert Crone, Jack Leventhal, Sarah Z. Lennon, Rose Maurer, Louis Ornstein, Samuel Ozerin, Peter Joseph Paskus, Mary Pendrick, Leon Praya, Alma Phillips, Nancy Proud, Louis Prupus, Joseph Reese, Oscar Rojas, Jane Schloss, Ruth Sloves, Kitty Sorokin, Sophie Stein, Alan Subak, Samuel Swartz, Samuel Turek, Betty Waterman, Rose Weiss, Maxine Weisswasser, Hyman Yevsky, and Sylvia Zamo Sachs. In memory of all of them, in memory of people who have no one to say Kaddish for them, let us all join together in offering these words of prayer. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'amad yivrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei dekol beit Yisrael, b'gala v'zman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mifarach le'alam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiram ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. I'd like to offer a huge thank you to To Marla Swartz, who is our Bima officer, and we'll be offering some announcements on behalf of the temple in just a second. And also to Gail Schwartz, who has been serving as our Zoom greeter this evening. Thank you so much for welcoming everyone so kindly to our service. So, Marla, I'd love to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rabbi Cassi. Shabbat Shalom. And I am Marla Schwartz, she, her, hers. And I'm happy to be here on behalf of your board of directors. There's so many services and programs that continue and are going on throughout the weekend and beyond. I want to remind you all that there are Zoom links so that you can attend as many of these as as you'd like. Virtual details can be found in your weekly emails. And if you don't receive weekly emails from Temple Bethel, please contact Carrie, our temple administrator, and she'll help you sign up for those. Every morning at 9 o'clock, please join us for our Elul Reflections program during this month of Elul. Each day, we will hear the resounding sound, meaningful sound. I want to change the word resounding, it's here in the script, but for me, what's become now the most meaningful sound of the shofar, and listen to the High Holy Days reflection from members of our community. The program is offered through Facebook Live and also the Temple Bethel YouTube page. So you have those two ways of seeing them. And if you're not awake at 9 o'clock, you could watch it later on if you'd like. So it's pretty cool. And if you happen to miss it for a day, you can go back and see it. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, there's a meditation class that's led by Pam Tarlow. This class is filled with songs, guided chants, and meditations. And then tomorrow night, traditionally 7 o'clock, we can join Rabbi Cassi for Havdalah. This musical service marks the end of Shabbat and welcomes in the new week. And finally, we have some what we call High Holy Day boot camps, and they'll continue. There was one this past Thursday. There'll be one this coming Thursday. It starts at 7. It's only an hour. And this week's lesson is entitled, Who Shall Live and Who Shall Die? A deep dive into the meaning of the Unatana Tokev prayer. Please note that this course will not interfere with next Thursday's Mensch Club event, Talking Baseball, with guest speaker Alon Leachman, who is an Israeli Olympic baseball player and MLB, what's that? Major League Baseball pitching coach. How's that? Our guest speaker will not begin until 8 p.m., so you can attend both events without missing anything. Please remember, for that particular event, you need to register ahead of time for the to be able to participate in that Mensch Club event. And if you would like to continue the celebration of Cantor Elon, who's not here, so wonderful, so I can reinforce this. Well, maybe he's watching from afar, but if you'd like to celebrate his 50th birthday, he is going to be the target of at least 50 pies to be thrown at him. I do believe our member, Donnie Paquin, is going to be one of the throwers. I've already sent in my money to do this. It's $180 worth every single shekel to be able to do this. I think I'm going to ask Jordan to throw my pie at her father. I think that might be something that she would particularly enjoy. Really encourage everybody to do that. The event takes place Tuesday night, September 1st. It's typically Cantor's Corner night. He'll be in the corner all right, but he's going to be hit pretty well, I think. So I think it'd be a wonderful way for all of us you'll be doing two things. You'll be enjoying that experience and helping out Temple Bethel. It's $180. You let Shoni know and she'll bill you or run after you and get a check or whatever it is that she does to help our synagogue. And on behalf of the community this evening, thank you, yes, to Gail for being our greeter and whatever. And Rabbi Cassi, thanks a lot. You provided us with, again, a thoughtful sermon where we can learn about ourselves and our community. And that means so much. I think the reminder, the takeaway for me is that as a Jew, I need to be able to accept everyone for who they are. And you really lead the way in teaching us how to do that better. And so thank you so very much. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. You're muted, it's okay.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you all so much. I am going to send everyone into breakout rooms, into random breakout rooms where hopefully you will be whisked away. And I look forward to seeing you for all the programs that we have in store. Thank you all so much. Shabbat Shalom.
It's out of it?
I don't know how to get in
I think you have to shut it off in some way.
Oh, please click to enter the rooms. I don't know how to do it the way the cantor does, apparently.
there. Done?
Shut it off.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm done.